In the savage, blood-drenched world of Spartacus, House of Ashur, power is not inherited, it's taken, carved out through pain, violence, and survival. Few characters embody that truth more completely than Achillia. Portrayed by Tanika Davis, Achillia, born Neferet, rises from a forgotten Nubian past to become the most dangerous symbol of Ashur's twisted ambition. Blood, chains, and ambition rule the sands of Capua once more. But this time, the deadliest force in the arena isn't a man. In Spartacus, House of Ashur, a single warrior rises from the shadows of slavery to shatter Rome's expectations and rewrite the rules of gladiatorial power. Stolen from Nubia, stripped of her name, and thrown into a world built to break her, Achillia doesn't just survive, she becomes something the crowd both fears and worships. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master, and today we're breaking down the brutal rise of Achillia, the goddess of death, her origins, her transformation, and why she may be the most dangerous weapon Ashur has ever unleashed. Origins and background, from Nubian warrior to enslaved gladiator. Before Capua, before the arena, before the name Achillia, there was Neferet. Her story begins in Nubia, a land defined by warrior traditions, survival through strength, and a cultural identity Rome barely understands. Neferet is raised in a world where combat is not spectacle but necessity, where endurance is learned early and weakness invites death. That foundation becomes the bedrock of everything she later survives in Rome. Her childhood ends violently when she is abducted from her homeland and sold into slavery. This moment defines her in ways the series slowly reveals. Unlike many gladiators whose trauma begins in the Ludus, Neferet's suffering predates Rome. The loss of her home, her name, and her identity creates a deep psychological wound that never fully heals. It manifests as self-doubt, as a sense that she was stolen before she could prove herself worthy of her people. Even as she becomes one of the deadliest fighters in Capua, that feeling of unworthiness lingers beneath the surface. Physically, Achillia's body tells her story before she ever speaks. The ritual scarification on her left bicep marks her Nubian heritage, while scars on her hands and arms serve as reminders of enslavement and survival. She is lean, muscular, and built for speed rather than brute force. Her movements are sharp, reactive, and efficient, less trained elegance and more instinctive lethality. This contrast between raw ferocity and unpolished technique becomes a key part of her evolution. Her personality is equally defined by defiance. She is proud, confrontational, and openly contemptuous of those who underestimate her. Her sharp tongue is not arrogance, it's armor. Every insult she throws back at her captors is a refusal to be erased. Freedom is her obsession, even when it feels unreachable. She is willing to kill anyone who stands between her and survival, not out of cruelty, but necessity. Ashur's Gamble, the birth of Achillia. Achillia enters the story through Ashur's ambition. In this alternate timeline, Ashur has not died in the uprising. Instead, he thrives. With Spartacus defeated and Batiatus's Ludus under his control, Ashur seeks to reinvent the games and elevate his status in Capua. His solution is spectacle, and nothing is more shocking to Roman audiences than a female gladiator. When Ashur acquires Neferet, he doesn't see her as a person. He sees potential profit, disruption, and control. Renaming her Achillia is his first act of ownership. The name evokes Achilles, the greatest warrior of myth, but it also strips Neferet of her past. Ashur understands the power of symbols, and Achillia becomes his boldest one yet. In the premiere episode, Achillia is introduced as an outsider in every sense. She is Nubian in a Roman world, a woman in a male-dominated arena, and a slave owned by a man who delights in manipulation. Flashbacks to her abduction haunt her, grounding her ferocity in trauma rather than ambition. She does not dream of glory, she dreams of survival. Trial by fire, violence inside the Ludus. When Achillia integrates the Ludus in episode 2, it is immediate and brutal. The male gladiators view her presence as an insult, a threat to their status and masculinity. Ductore Chorus, hardened and traditional, openly doubts her place among his fighters. The tension is constant, simmering just beneath the surface, until it explodes in violence. When two gladiators attempt to rape her, the series makes it clear that this is not just an act of cruelty, it is an assertion of dominance in a system designed to crush resistance. Achillia's response is instantaneous and savage. She castrates one of her attackers, who bleeds out as a result. The act is shocking, but it is also revealing. Achillia does not hesitate. She does not plead. She ends the threat.
This moment seals her reputation within the Ludus. Chorus forces her into a real sword duel as punishment, expecting to either break her or kill her. Though she ultimately loses, she wounds him badly enough to prove she is no novelty. She survives because she earns respect through blood. From that moment on, Chorus becomes less of an enemy and more of a reluctant guardian. At the same time, tension brews with Hillara, Ashur's servant and lover, who sees Achillia as a destabilizing force. Achillia is not just a fighter. She is a variable Ashur cannot fully control, and that terrifies those closest to him. Doubt, branding, and identity. Episode 3 slows the pace just enough to expose Achillia's inner conflict. The resentment from other gladiators continues, isolating her further. Ashur, sensing both her potential and her vulnerability, takes a more personal interest in her development. When Hillara notices the scars on Achillia's hand, it opens the door to Neferet's past. Achillia finally speaks of her abduction, of being stolen before she could prove herself as a true Nubian warrior. She admits to feeling unworthy, as if her enslavement erased her value. This confession is one of the rare moments where her armor cracks. Ashur, ever the manipulator, reframes her pain as fuel. He urges her to abandon the past and fully embrace what she is becoming. The episode ends with Achillia taking her oath and being branded with the Ludus symbol. The branding is both physical and symbolic. It represents ownership, indoctrination, and loss, but also commitment. Achillia does not resist, she endures. In doing so, she takes another step toward reshaping her identity on her own terms, even within bondage. Evolution of a fighter. By episode 4, Achillia's growth is undeniable. External threats like the Cilician pirate invasion heighten the stakes, while internal rivalries intensify. Under the guidance of Celidus, she begins to refine her fighting style, adopting an unorthodox dual sword approach that emphasizes speed, precision, and relentless pressure. Her training match against Tarchon, Celidus's son, becomes a turning point. Tarchon's arrogance mirrors the attitudes Achillia has faced since arriving at the Ludus. When she defeats him decisively, it sends a message to everyone watching. She is no longer just surviving. She is dominating. Ashur's crude behavior toward her, including his humiliating attempts at motivation, reinforces the power imbalance that still defines her existence. Yet, Achillia's response is not submission. She channels the degradation into resolve, sharpening her focus rather than letting it break her. Her relationships deepen as well. Celidus becomes more than a trainer. He becomes someone who sees her as a fighter, not a spectacle. Their connection hints at something dangerous in the world of Spartacus: genuine care. The birth of the goddess of death. Episode 5 is Achillia's coronation. Ashur finally unveils her to the public, betting everything on her success. The fight is meant to be manageable at first, 3 dwarves or the brothers Ferox, but political interference changes the game. Gabanius substitutes Ammonius, a towering, brutal opponent designed to crush Ashur's experiment. The fight is merciless. Achillia suffers a severe hand injury early on, threatening the very agility that defines her style. But instead of panicking, panicking, she adapts. She uses speed, angles, and relentless movement to exhaust Ammonius, turning his strength into a liability. When she finally kills him, it is not just victory, it is spectacle. The crowd erupts. In that moment, Achillia transcends novelty. She becomes legend. The name Goddess of Death is no longer branding, it is earned. Legacy in the making. Through the first 5 episodes of House of Ashur, Achillia's journey is one of transformation without illusion. She does not become free. She does not escape suffering. Instead, she reclaims agency within a system designed to strip it away. Neferet of Nubia becomes Achillia of Capua, not by surrendering her past, but by weaponizing it. Her rise complicates Ashur's power, challenges Rome's norms, and reshapes the arena itself. As the series continues, Achillia stands poised at the center of blood, ambition, and rebellion, not as a symbol of hope, but as a reminder that even in chains, death can wear a crown. Our nerdy thoughts. And that's the rise of Achillia, the goddess of death, one of the most dangerous and fascinating figures Spartacus has ever given us. From a stolen child of Nubia to Ashur's deadliest weapon in the arena, her journey isn't about glory or freedom yet. It's about survival, identity, and power in a world that was never meant to let her win. And as House of Ashur continues, one thing is clear. The sands of Capua aren't done drinking her blood or her enemies. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because Achillia's story is only just beginning.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.